Giancarlo Stanton and the Miami Marlins travel to New York to face the Mets.
Rip right field towards the corner.
The pregame's at 3:30 Eastern, followed by first pitch at 4:30. Saturday on ESPN Radio. ESPN Radio. This is the Thundering Herd podcast.
So I thought this was, very interesting. I always say, ad nauseum, there's two stories in sports. The one they present to the public and the truth. You see this all the time, right? Wall Street. No wrongdoing! Defiant! But we paid $1 billion, and we will redo our compliance department. Strong, defiant, out front. Look at us. Goldman Sachs. Look at us. GM. No, defiant. Behind the scenes, they write $1 billion check. Interesting. The sources say today the Patriots are now willing to resolve issues with the Deflategate penalties. Interesting, isn't it? Defiant. We are not cheaters. But the Patriots are now interested in sitting down and talking with the NFL. You know what happened, right? The Patriots' rebuttal last week hurt the cause. Nobody bought that Deflator was about dietary goals. Everybody outside of parochial Boston mocked it. Kraft, Belichick, watch that. By the way, Bill's not talking. He already defended Tommy once. He's not putting his arse out there again. So Robert Kraft, very interesting. This is subtle, but it's very interesting. So Robert Kraft, remember him, the owner? Did nothing absolutely. Here was his initial quote on this. Tom, Bill, and I, together for 15 years. Absolutely no wrongdoing. Interesting, though, what he told Peter King in Monday Morning Quarterback over the last 48 hours. I'm telling you, Bill didn't know about it, and I didn't know about it. Interesting, you left Tom's name. That's an absolute denial for Kraft and Bill. When asked about Tom Brady, listen, it is subtle, but listen. I've known Tommy 16 years. I believe what he told me. He's never lied to me. Oh, qualifiers. Not an absolute. It's now on Tom. I believe what he told me. He's never lied to me. There is a difference between my wife absolutely did not cheat on me to, well, she's never lied to me before. In my opinion, Belichick is not saying a thing. Belichick knows. He read those texts. He's not backing up his guy because Belichick and Kraft are going to be around this organization for 10 to 15 more years. Tom's an athlete. They come and go. Tom's support now comes with qualifiers. Well, he's never lied to us before. By the way, you do realize if they go to court, Tom Brady's phone is in play. This is what happens on Wall Street. It's the payoff culture. Defiant out front never happened. Absolutely not. Behind the scenes, can we make a deal? That's what's happening here. That's what's happening. Because if you go to court, now all that stuff, I get Tom's phone and all the texts ever. That's a bad look. So my takeaway on that story now that the Pats and the NFL are now working behind the scenes to resolve issues. Mm-hmm. Yep. Getting friendly all of a sudden. I'm going to sue him 2 days ago. Now we've seen the text. Oh, that's interesting. Good to have you in today. The Herd brought to you by Ford. We go further so you can. That's interesting. Ryan Tannehill signed a big fat monster contract with the Miami Dolphins, $96 million, $45 guaranteed. So I went on Twitter yesterday when I saw that, and people are like, that's terrible. Unbelievable. That's a terrible, terrible, terrible deal. Well, no, it's not. He's big, pretty mobile, works hard, gets slightly better every year, and he can make short, easy throws. Look around that division. The Jets and the Bills would die for Ryan Tannehill. Here's what we know in sports in 2015. You can't be bad in the NBA at point guard. You can't. It is a guard-wing-centric league. You can be bad at center. Miami Heat got to 4 straight finals. They were the shortest team in the league and a bad rebounding club. Joel Anthony, Udonis Haslem. They had no bench. They had no centers. You can't be bad at point. Look at the 4 teams left. Harden now is sort of basically the point for Houston with Patrick Beverley's injury. Steph Curry, Kyrie Irving, Jeff Teague. You can't be bad at point. And in the NFL, you can't be horrible at quarterback. And Ryan Tannehill's he's not horrible. Now, he was almost benched last year, week 4 for Matt Moore, and he only threw for more than 2 touchdowns 3 times. But Andy Dalton and Ryan Tannehill can beat average teams in this league. And there are a lot of average teams. And you can go 9-7. Maybe if the schedule bends your way, you get the bye at the right time. You can go 9-7 and 10-6 with Ryan Tannehill. You're not going to win the Super Bowl with Dalton and Tannehill. But it's become a bubble screen league. You can hide most of Ryan Tannehill's flaws. Tom Brady, frankly, doesn't throw deep much anymore. But we know this. You cannot be awful at quarterback. Buffalo has got one of the best rosters in the league. They're awful at quarterback. The Jets have one of the top 10 rosters in the league. They're awful at quarterback. Yes, Tannehill's 6.9 per attempt was 31st in the NFL. But the league's becoming a bubble screen league, so you can mostly hide his flaws. This is why I keep defending Matt Ryan, Tony Romo, Jay Cutler. They don't have to be perfect. Look around the league. Tannehill's completions, yards, touchdowns, rating, every year, they move up a little. A little. He's a little more mobile, Andy Dalton. A little. He's never going to be Andrew Luck. He's got an absolute ceiling. But in the end, you've got to pay Ryan Tannehill that. Look at the teams that just drafted 1 through 5. They're lousy at quarterback. And Tannehill's not lousy. He's slightly above average, getting a little better every year. In this league, in 2015, that's worth $96 million. It is. Hey, if you live in Ohio, you'll pay whatever it takes for that space heater in the winter. You know what I mean? If you live in Phoenix, what's a pool worth? Everything. If you're in the NFL, we all overpay for certain things based on geography and needs. Okay? You'll pay whatever it takes for baby formula if you have twins. Whatever it takes. And you got to pay Tannehill $90 million today. That's what you've got to pay in that league, by the way, with the Jets defense, with the Bills defense, and New England's improved defense. He's a big, tough, mobile kid in a bubble screen league who can make all those easy throws. Give him $96 million. I don't have to love you. I can like you. At that position, my like is close to love. I mean, you ever gone to an amusement park, Orlando, in the summer? How much you willing to pay for that bottled water? $8? I'm all in. Okay? You ever been in that humidity in Orlando in the summer? Whatever it costs.
Want more of the Herd? The Thundering Herd Podcast.
NBA draft lottery tonight. I'm fascinated by it. I'm rooting for the Lakers to win. I'm not lying. I don't think the NBA is significantly more interesting if Orlando, Sacramento, Denver, Charlotte, Indiana, or Philadelphia win the lottery. Knicks would be interesting. Lakers would be interesting. I root for interesting. I root for Notre Dame and Michigan football to be great. I'm pulling for Harbaugh and Brian Kelly. I'm pulling for Sark at USC. I like traditional favorites. I love the Calipari story at Kentucky basketball. That's nothing against TCU football. I root for powerhouses. You like them too. You just won't admit it. America says I love the underdog story, but you won't watch it. Numbers prove it. So, yes, I'm rooting for the Lakers tonight. They've got Julius Randle at a 4. Jordan Clarkson, I'm not sure if they're buying into that. He made the all-rookie team. I think some of those Laker people think he's a 2, not a 1. See if he can play with Kobe this last year. I'm not sure about that. So if they win, they're going to have an interesting decision. If they don't, they're still going to get a very good player. But I think if the Lakers win, it will also create a belief that there is a conspiracy theory to help the league, and people are wackadoos and Bigfoot believers, and I'm all for that. Radio is better when there's, kind of grease fires and drama. So if the Lakers win tonight, my phones will light up. Everybody will think it's the league is out to help the Lakers, despite the fact Orlando and Cleveland have both won that thing twice in the last 15 years. So there was another story yesterday. Dan Jennings is the new manager of the Miami Marlins. He is admired in baseball circles. He's a brilliant scout, great people skills, homespun. Everybody likes him. But baseball managers are insulted because he's just been named a manager for a major league team, and he has no managerial experience. And as Chris Singleton said on ESPN, a former major leaguer, a lot of baseball managers are asking why.
It can be insulting to baseball guys that have been in the game, that have paid their dues in uniform on the field, to be bypassed, if you will, for an opportunity like this.
You know what? The rotary phone industry was insulted too. So what? Evolve. Baseball managers, especially in the American League, are just not that valuable. Even in the National League, Tony La Russa left. Mike Matheny, don't miss a beat. Never managed a game. Don't miss a beat. Never managed a Major League Baseball game. The best manager, Tony La Russa, leaves. His fill-in didn't miss a beat. There are two jobs in the American culture that pay massive money, and for the life of me, folks, I can't figure it out. One is baseball managers. The second is broadcast network's nightly news anchor. I don't get it. Nothing against Scott Pelley. Nothing against Brian Williams. The great Tom Brokaw left NBC. Ratings were flat. Didn't spike, didn't go down. Bill O'Reilly leaves his show, ratings plummet. Howard Stern left FM radio, ratings plummet. That's nothing against Brian Williams. But he's just introing stories for 22 minutes a night. And I don't get baseball managers. If you watched Moneyball, which everybody now adheres to at some level, Billy Beane's the architect of Moneyball, right? Had almost no interest in managers. Had zero interest paying them a lot. Completely replaceable. Hockey's a goalie sport. Football's a coach and quarterback sport. Basketball's a superstar sport. Baseball is a general manager and scout sport. Doug Melvin of the Brewers is the most valuable piece. Not the center fielder and not the manager. The general manager. So ask yourself this. If baseball managers are deemed as a valuable asset in their business, they manage primarily in major cities, counting spring training, 200 games. And they make on average less than $1 million. A college and the sport is flush with cash. So think about that. You're in an industry, it's flush with cash. Everybody's making boatloads. And yet you don't pay a manager in any division. What does that tell you? It's not that valuable. Yet in college football, where athletic departments outside of your Ohio States and Notre Dames are not flush with cash, in rural, tiny communities, pay college football coaches $4 million for 12 games. Why? Because they decide winning streaks and losing streaks. In college football, in rural towns, in athletic departments, not swimming in cash, you pay $2.5 million for 12 games. In New York City, Terry Collins makes what? For 200 games. What does that tell you about what people in baseball think of managers? They're not that valuable. Now, Bobby Valentine can blow up the Red Sox. And Terry Francona is really, really good. But Joe Torre's primary asset was babysitting egos. He would acknowledge that. I mean, he and Don Zimmer sat on the bench talking horses. Tony La Russa acknowledged on the road he would read in the afternoon, read books, watch movies. Think Belichick's doing that before big football games? Urban Meyer's doing that all week before they face Michigan State? It's just not. There's two businesses, and there's two jobs in this country that pay millions sometimes, or there's a sense they're valuable. The nightly news anchor, who does not move ratings substantially, and a baseball manager, and they don't win a large number of games. They just don't. So I think they're very replaceable. I'd pay a fortune for a goalie in hockey, a head coach in the NFL, and a general manager. In soccer, I would say it's your goalie and your striker, your top scorer. You can't put a dollar figure on Ronaldo or Messi or the great ones. And let's be honest, Tim Howard is the reason we're in the World Cup last time. It's the reason we can hang with Belgium for an hour and a half when we're not even close.
Geico presents Strange Savings Stories. Astronomers detected an interstellar transmission. It stated, Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more. The implications were staggering. Was the cosmos telling us we could all save hundreds on car insurance with Geico? Or did their radar merely pick up a signal from the nearby Rufus and Clyde's morning show? We may never know.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
They have Pitbull on The View. And Pitbull is that performer from, I think, Miami. And we were talking this morning, a lot of the guys on the staff are like, he's got no talent. And I'm like, well, kids like him. He's young. And by the way, not that I've been to a club, but I've been out dancing and Pitbull comes on and I'm like, oh yeah, I can shake it. That's okay. That's fine. Let's ask Michael Irving.
1:30 and jump back on the hook.
Do you like Pitbull? Is he okay?
I'm just telling that. I love Pitbull. What do you mean? It's a very good friend of mine. I spent some time with Pitbull. His name is Armando. I know we call him Mr. 305, and I am a Florida boy. So you know I love Pitbull. My wife thinks he's sexy, too. We go to his concerts and hang out with him.
Wow. You are famous. You know all sorts of famous people. That's kind of an amazing life. Like, can you just...
Get out of here, Colin.
It's kind of amazing, though. How many people have I ever had on that said, yeah, I go talk with Pitbull's my friend. I go to his... Like, when you go to a Pitbull concert, Michael, does he perform like you did as an athlete? Does he prepare like what's it like?
He goes, hey, man, yeah, Pitbull, hey, man, listen, this man does. He's an incredibly gifted man. He really is. And I enjoy my time with him. And, you know, now listen, when I say he's a friend, I mean, we've hung out, we've spent one of those late nights, where you're driving by. This is where I grew up, in this house right here. Right in this house, watching the little house that he grew up in. And then the things that he does for kids. He has a program. He has a school that he puts kids in school, and he calls it jams. It's a jam where the curriculum is through music, and slam where the curriculum is through sports. So he does a lot of great things, man, and that's why I love him. He doesn't just take his talent and eat on it. He takes his talent and feed others with it. That's why I call him a great friend.
Michael Irvin, Hall of Famer. Everybody I talk to likes Michael Irvin, and you've always been so upfront about things in your past. Jerry Rice says I use Stickum. Tom Brady deflated something. Michael, we all understand everybody's trying to get an edge. What was your little edge?
Well, I had a few little edges that I tried to snatch in. We had rules where you had to wear thigh pads. You were supposed to wear the thigh pads. When I got in the league, my rookie year, I had thigh pads on. For some reason in my own mind, I felt like they slowed me down. Thigh pads were 0.000 ounces. But you're supposed to have them on, and especially now for safety. I was like, forget that. I'm taking them off. So it was me trying to skirt the rule. The rule says no pushing off, no extending the arms and pushing off to make a catch. I won Super Bowls by trying to get an edge. All right, I won't extend my arm, but I'm going to run and kick you with my elbow. Still the running motion, and I'm still pushing off. I'm just not extending the arm. Colin, that's all I saw with what this thing is about Tom Brady. Tom Brady, in no time, if you read that Wells report, in no time did he say, I know what the rules are. I know they're 12 and a half, and I don't care about that. Make my ball at 9 PSI. That's all I'm saying. And in the report, I got, how you leave certain things out, and people connect those dots. Tom Brady signed autographs for the guy. So then people start thinking, oh, so Tom must have signed the autographs and gave him the jerseys so he can break the rules. That's not, the guys sign autographs for the guys that work in the locker room all the time. At the end of the year, this is what we all do. It's kind of like our thanks. Well, if your autograph has some value to it, it's kind of like your thanks to the guys for putting up with you and cleaning up after you. I used to tell the guy, Al, at the Cowboys, I said, Al, man, come on, man, I need my car clean. I'm heading out tonight. There's $100 in the glove compartment. Take the $100, keep the change, go over there, spend $15 to get my car clean. Change is yours. Things like that we do in the locker room. And I thought if you don't bring all of that out in the report, then people assess it incorrectly.
So it sounds like what is your gut feeling on what happened with Tom?
It's the same thing that happens with all the other 31 quarterbacks in the NFL. Okay, hey, he said, this is how I want my ball. I want you to rub it down this way. Don't have it pumped all the way up. If you also read the report came back sometimes those balls at the end of the game were at 16. And Mr. Anderson, he talked about it. He says, I overinflate the balls because it's hard to get it exact. So when the guy goes back and try to take some out, it's not that he's trying, he's trying to get the ball back down to where it's probably supposed to be. And that's what the guy said in the report. So it just, when you look through it, it does feel like, hey, we're reaching a little bit. And I certainly just think, you're going to ruin this man's great journey on this. I watched Troy Aikman. He wanted his balls a certain way. You had to rub them down a certain way because they can't be slick. He grabs the back of a football. Every quarterback has a desire to have the football the way they like it, but within the rules. And I haven't heard Tom Brady say, I want you to break the rules. He just said, don't make the ball so big and so hard.
The Cowboys took chances with Randy Gregory and Greg Hardy. You have offered to mentor Gregory. The Dallas culture, Jerry Jones made a lot of his money in high-risk oil ventures. The Cowboys have always had a very strong ability to stomach risk and players with off-field stuff. Greg Hardy, Randy Gregory. What is your kind of takeaway? How much risk is good risk, and when can there be too much risk with players?
Well, let's see, you'll never have me or hear me subscribe to not giving a man another opportunity, and it's one of the reasons, I absolutely adore and love Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones uses the greatest game in the world to do things that you're supposed to do with it. You use it to save lives and try to give guys another chance. Hopefully, guys will see the light or see the error in their ways and correct them moving forward. Allow me to be an example of that. But I don't profess or claim that we should not give guys opportunities. I can't buy into that. That's why I love Jerry, because he gives guys like me opportunities to get a better life and to get their life right.
Des Bryant seems to grow up in the last year. Des kind of grew up, it seemed to me. First 2 years, I was unsure. There's a sense in Dallas Des Bryant has turned the corner. Do you buy that?
Yes, yeah. I do buy Des has turned the corner on his actions and some of the things that he was doing. Now, I am still concerned because, as you know, sometimes it's not just about what you're doing. Sometimes it's about what people around you are doing, and not even some of the people that you consider your friends. You still have to be careful. There's no, I'm turning the corner and I'm out of the scary part or I'm out of the woods. The woods are always lurking because you have what they call history. So now, whenever you get into a situation, Colin, so your word is going to be questioned. Let me tell you what I mean by that, and I hate to bring things up like this, but I got accused of an assault on a girl one time. Now I took the videotape to the police the next day and said, listen, I wasn't even there. Later on, I sued the TV network and won millions and millions of dollars. And nobody ever talks about that. Nobody ever said anything about it. They only talked about the false accusations. So, and even though I was saying for 2 weeks, guys, I wasn't there, nobody ever believed me because I had already gotten in trouble before. So I'm telling you, it's not just about your decisions. You have to make sure you keep people around you to monitor what's going on around you.
All right, 3 rings, Hall of Famer Michael Irving. We're going to play some Pitbull on the way out, my man. Your buddy Pitbull. Michael, I always appreciate you coming on the show.
Armando is what I called him. But no, Pitbull's cool, man. That's my man, Colin. Colin, anytime, man. I would like to get in one of those great, because I love your debates. And you have a great talent to debate with oneself. There's a great gift in that. No, not everybody can debate with oneself, but you can do that, Colin, and I appreciate that,
Mike, I appreciate that, Michael, and you're always welcome.
All right, buddy. I appreciate it, buddy.
All right, Michael Irvin. He's a good dude. I've known Michael for a long time.
You're in the Herd, the Thundering Herd podcast.
In baseball, they just the Marlins named a guy who'd never been a manager, and a lot of the baseball people, the managers, are like insulted by it. But the whole propaganda machine of baseball has always told you that it's a thinking man's game, like it's some sort of intellectual chess match. And to that I've said, baseball's full of rural kids. Almost nobody's got a college degree. Managers or players, 3%, lowest percent of any professional league in America. A third of it's Dominican, and those players often come from what we would not consider world-class educational backgrounds. And in football, you've got a playbook. It's massive. Each score is culminated by, carefully coordinated plays. After series, you go and look at aerial photos of, think about how many practices you have to set up a game plan. Think about baseball. You can play it every day. Just switch pitchers. Just play it every day. It's not just a physical thing. You just play it every day. Roll the ball out. Don't have to make massive changes, game plans. Think about it this way. You could shoot Price is Right, Wheel of Fortune, a game show. You could shoot 8 a day. In fact, that's how they do it. Pat Sajak on a Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday will shoot 5 episodes a day. Why can you shoot so many episodes of a game show in one day? Not that sophisticated, not a lot of nuance. It's not a thinking man's TV business. Sitcoms, well, you can do one of those a week. A little more nuance. Got to have writers, memorization of lines, change sets, a little more sophistication. Movies, those take months. Why? Even more nuance, even more sophistication. Generally speaking, if you can do something 7 times a day, it's not a thinking man's anything. Game shows, no nuance. Sitcoms, some. Movies, a lot. Complexity. Game shows, not much. Sitcoms, a little. Movies, much more. Football is choreography, game plans, multiple practices, memorization, coordination. The average baseball writer can sit down and talk strategy with Tony La Russa any day of the week. The average football writer couldn't diagram a single play to Bill Belichick. There's always been this propaganda that baseball is such a thinking man's game. I could talk to Tony La Russa for an hour. We could talk about baseball strategies, and it would be a good give and take. He knows more than I do. Belichick would look at me, and I live for football, like I didn't know what I was talking about. I couldn't diagram a single play. So this idea that baseball, a third of the sport now is Dominican, those kids often come from very limited educational backgrounds because of the economies of their countries. The other guys a lot of kids just don't even go to college. They go in the youth baseball pipeline, they get drafted, go right into the minor leagues. Stop pretending like this is the Ivy League of sports. I mean, let's be honest. Now with the globalization of baseball, the Asian players, managers can't even communicate with a third of their roster. A lot of it's just instincts. Here's a ball. Go hit. Go pitch. In the NFL, if you can't communicate, we can't put you at left tackle. We can't put you at center. We can't put you at Mike linebacker. We can't put you at quarterback. I mean, so I've always thought of this whole kind of, I don't even know where it comes from, but like this baseball, it's this empirical, intellectual status that unless you have it, you just don't get the game. Really? Yogi Berra? One of the greatest players ever. Really? Really?
ESPN Radio, bringing you directly to the biggest events in sports.
Center field, well hit, Hunter back, out of here!
From opening day of baseball,
Throw to the plate, safe at the plate!
right through the World Series.
For the third time in 5 seasons, the San Francisco Giants are the champions of the baseball world.
Whether it's LeBron, Chris Paul, or Kevin Durant, when the NBA tips off, ESPN Radio is right there when a champion is crowned.
We have a new world champion. The San Antonio Spurs are the world champions.
And when the magic of bowl season arrives, ESPN Radio is your home for the new college football playoff.
The college football playoff first national champion, the Ohio State Buckeyes.
The biggest events in sports can be found right here on ESPN Radio.
Robert Kraft will speak at the NFL owners' meetings being held in the Bay Area. Adam Schefter on his phone, feverishly working. Let's start with this, with the many questions I have for you, Adam. 1 o'clock presser, what is Robert Kraft going to say?
Well, based on what happened Saturday night, which we'll also talk about, I think what's going to happen here is he recognizes that as much as he disagrees with the league's findings, he's got no choice here. What are they going to do? Are they going to sue the league? I don't think he's going to do that when they're partners with him. He's going to go after Roger Goodell, his good friend. I don't think he's going to do that. I think the Patriots are in a no-win position here. I think they're going to have to eat it, and I think that's what's going to wind up happening here. I don't think they wind up appealing. That's my guess.
So what happened Saturday night?
Well, Saturday night, oddly enough, everybody's been wondering if Roger Goodell and Robert Kraft would talk at these owners' meetings. Well, they already talked. Saturday night, they were at a 60th birthday party for CBS Sports Chairman Sean McManus in New York City on Houston and Broadway, a place there. And there were people there that spotted them on a couch, Kraft and Goodell, talking for a long period of time, got up and hugged at one point. I don't know exactly what was said, but if they're hugging at one point, we can make light of the hug. Say, is it a draft hug like the type that Goodell gets from Danny Shelton? Is another kind? I don't know what kind of hug, but they hugged. And I think that gives you an idea of the state of where they're now in. Patriots still believe they've done nothing wrong. The league believes the Patriots did do wrong. The Patriots have no choice, I think, but to accept it. Their end, Tom Brady's a different issue. He can still fight his 4-game suspension. And the league and the Patriots, while having their disagreements, they're business partners in the end.
So what happens next to you is basically, what does Kraft say?
Well, we're going to see. My guess, this is just a guess. My guess would be, while we strongly disagree with the league's findings, while we maintain our innocence, we're going to go along with what the league has assessed to us. That's my guess.
We talked about that to lead the show today. We think when the Patriots came out with their rebuttal, it was mocked. Outside of provincial Boston, it was mocked around the league. Kraft had to watch that, right? He kind of knows now nationally.
Let me tell you something. I believe still, I don't think they cared about the people mocking it. What was important to them was that they portrayed their side of the events, which they truly believe. I know you and others have picked it apart, and that's fine. It's no problem. Again, I really believe this. They still believe, that they have done no wrong.
Okay, so if they've done no wrong, why did the Patriots suspend Jastrzemski and McNally, the ball boys?
Well, that's been the great question. That's hung over this process for the last week. And as it was explained to me, the league went to the Patriots before the discipline was handed down and said, we think it's a good idea. We recommend that you do this. And the Patriots went ahead and acquiesced, I think, thinking that it would help them in their discipline going forward. But it didn't. Now, since we reported that, got a call from an NFL official. He says, your story's not right. Okay. No problem. Went back to my guy. He says, your story's right. Okay, so again, the NFL spokesman says it's not right. Another person involved in the process says it is right. You be the judge about what did and didn't happen. My sense, my belief is that the NFL called the Patriots and said, we would like you to suspend these guys. The Patriots listened before the discipline was imposed, and the discipline came down the way that it did.
Well, if they're as steadfast as they appear to be New England, why would they suspend two people without being told?
Because again, it comes back to what I believe we'll hear out of Robert Kraft's mouth later today, which is that ultimately they're working with the league, not against the league, as much as they disagree with the league. And so they're in a position here where if the league, your partner, your boss, your whatever, comes to you and says, Colin, we'd like you to do this. If ESPN comes to you and says, we'd like you to throw Vince off the show, you going to do that? Or are you going to stand by your guy?
I stand by my guy.
Okay, well, they didn't.
Hear that, Vince? I stand by my guy. Hey, by the way, did you guys try the Starbucks drink I offered? What did you think of it? Just a quick interlude here. Go ahead.
It wasn't bad.
Thank you.
It was good.
Vince, how was it?
Hey, if we're going to do interludes, I got an interlude for you right here. So last night, I'm at home, I'm reading Sports Business Journal, and they got a tribute to Dick Ebersol.
Legend.
A Lifetime Achievement Award. A legend.
Well, NBC's chief of sports forever.
Forever.
Basically, he and Roone Arledge are the Olympics.
Okay, and the work he's done is beyond legendary. And they had a long profile of him, and they had all these different sidebars, his takes on various things. So, and one of them, and this shocked me. I'm not surprised, but I was like, whoa. The headline of the page is an unfiltered assessment of today's talent on TV. And it had Dick Ebersol's scouting report on about 10 different television personalities.
Like Al Michaels and stuff?
Like Al Michaels is on there, correct. Mike Tirico, Jerome Bettis, Tiki Barber, John Gruden, Mike Mayock, Chris Collinsworth, Dan Patrick, Mike Pereira, Mike Carey, and you.
Well, I'd say there.
Well, hold on. So on you, when I was reading, I was blown away. This is the highest compliment that you can ever get from anybody ever. He wrote about you, or said about you, in Sports Business Journal, if there was one guy in the American sports media scene that I would really like to meet and have dinner with, it's Colin. I'm mesmerized. My wife is a sports information junkie. The two things she listens to on her radio all the time are Sirius NFL Radio and Colin. He goes on and on. He says all the things that I feel, but he's so much more articulate and better at it than I am. He can do that about almost any sport. I'm pretty impressed by him.
That was very nice. Can we have
that's unbelievable.
Thank you.
When I read this, and let me say this, he was not particularly kind with everybody. His comments with you, they were incredibly glowing. So I brought that for you as a souvenir. You can keep that. That's your copy.
By the way, I'm not going to say where he lives, but he lives not far from where I live, and there's a really good restaurant by where he lives.
Well, you could have dinner with him, just like he has to.
Yeah, I'm not going to say where he lives on the air,
but to arrange.
Because I drove through his town once,
well,
and somebody
basically
said,
describe where he lives on the front page of that profile.
Oh, it does?
Litchfield, Connecticut.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, well, there we go. There's the inside scoop. He lives in Litchfield, Connecticut.
Yeah. Yeah, I do deserve Tannehill money. Okay.
Well, so when you're doing your next contract, there's your big negotiating play right there.
Okay, so two questions.
Yes.
And I think the fans win so big on this, the extra points. Yeah. I'm fascinated with Chip Kelly saying, move the 2-point try to the 1, essentially forcing teams to go for it, giving the fans another exciting, dramatic play. Is there a shot that transpires?
Well, he's got the ultimate 2-point conversion weapon in Tim Tebow, right?
It's very interesting.
It is very interesting. Now, I don't think they're going to wind up moving it to the 1, because if they move it to the 1, you know what happens? And Peter King pointed this out this morning. You get a lot of quarterbacks diving for the end zone. Like Tom Brady. How often have you seen him?
Yeah.
When they're down at the 1? You could always count on him rushing for 3, 4, 5 touchdowns a year because he loves to jump, or first downs. He's always jumping over the pile. Drew Brees does the same. They pull back the football. And the one thing the NFL never wants is quarterback injuries. And so when you put the ball at the 1, you're going to get some of that. I think the league wants to avoid that.
That's interesting.
So I think it stays at the 2. What I would like to see is and this annoys me when I see it, when somebody on the defense intercepts a pass and starts running the other way. Play dead. The play's over. Why is it over? They just picked off a 2-point conversion. Why should the defense not be allowed to return it for 2 points if they intercept a pass or recover a fumble? To me, that should be allowed, and I think that winds up getting passed. I think the extra point goes back to the 15-yard line. I think the defense can score 2 points, and I think the 2-point conversion stays at the 2. There are 3 proposals, one from the Patriots, one from the Eagles, one from the competition committee. It's going to be voted on today, I expect. I think we'll have an announcement by the end of the day, about 6:30 Eastern.
1 o'clock today, Robert Kraft is going to talk. Press conference live. Adam Schefter, great seeing you, bud.
Hey, those are kind words. Well deserved.
And thank you very much. This is I have no
Cheers,
idea.
I wrote that for you.
So you subscribe to this.
I subscribe to that. Sports Business Journal. How about that?
Okay. All right.
You don't?
Well, I
would think a man who is
mostly
so in touch with the sports business world
no
that you would be reading that.
You know, I've learned to just kind of turn. I just try to not read anything that summarizes broadcasters. It's not kind to me.
Well, it's not really summarizing broadcasting. It's about industry trends.
Yeah, I know. I should read it more. I've read it before. I know the guy who does this. He's very capable.
Yeah,
very capable.
It was a very well done piece on Dick Ebersol and incredibly kind comments on you.
Colin Cowherd. The Thundering Herd Podcast.
So tonight, what do we got tonight? NBA Draft Lottery. I'm really excited for this. I really am. I know. Game 1 of the West, Golden State wins by 22 over the Rockets. I predict a sweep, 4 to 5 games. I'll give Houston one just out of the kindness of my heart. Let's say we got Charles. Charles, you a big James Harden guy, Charles?
No, not especially.
Yeah, me neither.
I don't know if you saw what happened in that third quarter of Game 6 when Harden started melting down. He started pushing people. He probably should have had a couple or 3 flagrant fouls, and I think Mikal sat him down simply because he wasn't going to have that on his team. I think the guy is mentally weak, man. I don't think he's tough. And when he saw that the end was near, he just went off.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of him. I've had people in the league say he's not a great teammate. I'm not a fan of his temperament. I don't like this. What is this thing?
Hey, I just scored a basket here. I'm stirring the pot. Hey!
What is that? That's what Darius Miles did. What is that?
Hey, I had oatmeal this morning. Hey, I had raisins.
That's the Bush League. It's not what Larry Bird did after baskets or Jerry West. It's not what they did. Listen, if you're an NBA star, you don't do a thingy after you score. That is weak. That's what Darius Miles did. Yeah, boom. How about this? Get out of the league. If you're a star player, Magic Johnson didn't, after a basket, have a magic sign. Tim Duncan doesn't do that. Hacks do that. That's what hacks do. Like I've never been a big fan of like radio announcers who have like these go-to calls. Like does Bob Costas, does Al Michaels, does Joe Buck? Like the great announcers, fly ball to left, open the window, Granny, 'cause here comes a Rawlings. Go work in Des Moines.
Colin, every baseball guy does. You announced minor league baseball. Did you have a home run call?
No. I was a pro.
That's probably why you're not a baseball announcer anymore.
I'm not into that shticky stuff. Just announce the game. Mike Breen.
He has one. He says bang.
That's not really. He does it twice a game. Marv Albert said, yes. That's not a shtick. It's yes. It's a real word. It's not fly ball to left. Here comes down the sausage chute. Uncle Marmalade. Butter your toast. Deep 3 from Derrick Rose. That'll put some mustard on the pretzel. That guy doesn't make the network, okay? So when you make a basket, I don't need James Harden. Hey, unicorn horns. You're an all-star. Hit the hoop and go play defense. So weak. It's so beneath Jerry West, Oscar Robertson, LeBron James, Tim Duncan, Larry Bird. I'm not doing signs after they hit a jumper. 18-footer by Jimmy Butler. That pizza is deep dish. God, nothing worse. Go work in Rancho Cucamonga. That's the worst. Joe Buck doesn't have one of those. I just hate that. So I'm sweating. There's Derrick Rose driving down the lane. That laundry just got folded. Pow! Send my resume tape to Schenectady. Just call the game. Be a pro. I think every time James Harden does this thing, Every single time he does that thing in the air, what are you, a D-League player? That's what Darius Miles does. It's not what Oscar does and West and Magic and Isaiah and Bird. I mean, so many. It's just so bad. I'm sorry, Stanzik is just, what is wrong with you? All right.
I think that coffee got to you.
Dude, it was 1,000 cc's of caffeine. There's a ground ball to short, throw to first, and the goats just got hurt into the pen. Hell, I've been drinking, it sounds like. That spinach just got creamed. What? 2 for the road. More than 7,500 Pacific Gas and Electric Company customers in San Francisco were without power Monday for like 3 hours after somebody was throwing a birthday party and let go of a metallic balloon, floated up the power lines, and knocked the city out of power. And the price of weed ranges widely from state to state. Nationwide, the average price for an ounce of high-quality cannabis is $3.24. That's according to priceofweed.com, a global index for marijuana that uses anonymous crowdsourcing. Oh, brother. Not surprisingly, the price for buying it is lower in Washington, Oregon, Colorado, and Alaska. North Dakota, $3.87 per ounce. In Oregon, it's a nickel. No, it's $204. But 2 for the road brought to you by Johnsonville Sausages. We don't make sausages. We make family in sausage. That makes no sense.
Colin, you need a sign-off phrase.
No, I'm not going to do a sign-off phrase.
What? Cronkite had one.
What was Cronkite's?
Good night and good luck.
How about this? Don't agree with me? Get lost. See you tomorrow. How's that?
That's not bad.
How about James Harden? Does anybody know what this is?
Stir in the pot, man.
Oh, God. Just do better. You're an MVP candidate. Do better than that. God, it's just... Okay, everybody give me a sign-off on my Twitter account, and I'll use the best one for a week. I will do it right now. Give me the worst one ever, and I'll use it for a week. Dead men don't wear plaid. We'll see you tomorrow in the old hoedown. I'm just out of gas right now. I'm like James Harden exhausts me.
Check out The Herd with Colin Cowherd weekdays from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio, ESPNRadio.com, and on ESPNU. The Thundering Herd Podcast.